Hello, welcome back to Ever17 Out of Infinity. The sound of bubbling oil filled the room. I fried the chicken in silence. After getting up, we all gathered in front of the sandwich shop as usual. As luck would have it, everyone showed up at the same time. I guess I could have called it lucky. And that really freaked me out, but I'm just gonna keep going. Hardly anyone said a thing. Everyone had glum expressions on their faces and ate silently. There was a strange atmosphere surrounding us. For some reason, it had become hard for us to look at one another in the eyes. It felt like the beginning of a bottomless rift among us. And at the same time, there was a strange smell in the air. There's smoke coming from the tip of my finger. Smoke! That's hot. I had been firmly pressing it against the grill. I hastily cut the power. A juicy smell, not unlike sausage, was coming from the burnt tip of my finger. Ow, that hurts. I'm such an idiot. As I blew on my finger to cool it off, I looked around at everyone. They had noticed, but they all turned their gazes down. Only PP was kind enough to acknowledge me. Yeah, PP, I burnt myself pretty good. But soon even PP turned his face away from me. Hey. It seemed like everyone hated me. I felt totally alone. The sandwich I had just finished cooled and soon it no longer tasted palatable. It felt like the morning after a funeral. Everyone knew why things had sunk so low. Everyone knew, but nobody wanted to say anything. A moment of carelessness had opened our hearts up to despair. They shoveled the chicken sandwiches into their mouths in silence. After we were all finished eating, everyone went to the conference room.
皆さんにお集まりいただいたのは他でもありません。一刻も早くお知らせしなければならないことがあったのです。辛いでしょうが、現在の状況を正しく把握する必要があります。取り乱さず、落ち着いて、心して聞いてください。
Sora paused for a second. Sora looked at all five of us in turn. You, Sugumi, Coco, the kid, and me. The conference room was silent. But I could hear the sound of water, faintly coming from somewhere. Was it water lapping in the hallways? Moments later, I couldn't hear it anymore. As if Sora was waiting for this cue, she slowly opened her mouth. Sora extended her hand and a holographic window appeared in the space in front of us. It felt like I hadn't seen her do that for a while.
今のところ新たな浸水の兆候がはっきり現れている箇所はありません。昨夜のドリッドシュトックのコスミッシャーバル浸水以来、際立った被害は出ていませんが、その浸水によってレミューを支える支柱への負担は増大しました。フロア間の歪みが大きくなりつつあります。このままいくとレミューはやがて平行バランスを崩し、大きく傾くことになるでしょう。フロア区画の連結部への損傷が重なれば、健在な区画にも各種パイプなどを通して水が侵入してくる可能性があります。つまり油断のならない状況となっています。以前お伝えしたと思いますが、レミューの完全悪化推定時刻は5月7日午前4時30分前後となっています。推定誤差はプラスマイナス12時間程度です。この推定数値には今のところ大きな変更はかかっていません。隔壁強度は一部においてすでに限界を超えつつあるのです。崩壊は段階的に少しずつ、しかし確実に起こります。それはもう時間の問題です。
Sora told all of us this with a calm look on her face. We all swallowed and held our breath as we listened. We knew we were reaching our time limit. We had no choice but to accept the reality. There was no avoiding the situation.
現在、発電施設は順調に稼働しています。ですが万が一、発電機が停止してしまった場合は、非常電源、蓄電池を使用します。通常は非常灯の点灯とシステムの保持に使われている程度のものですが、2時間くらいは持つものと思います。
However, as I listened to Sora's report, I couldn't help thinking about yesterday with Sora. How much of her thought processing had been repaired. Speaking in front of me was a Sora who was practical, businesslike, and simply responding to the situation at hand. She looked at me as if nothing had transpired, and I was of little importance to her. Which Sora is she? The real one or the fake one? This sucks. It wasn't the time to be thinking about that.
旧来の通信回路については依然不通。脱出方法も見つかっていません。ですが、館内レムシステムは全力を挙げて皆さんの生命維持を最優先事項とし、そのための環境保全に努めます。また、館外で操作可能なセンサー、ライト、マニピュレーターなどを総動員し、それらを使っての光波、電波、音波による通信の送受信の可能性を改めて検証中です。
Sora nodded her head, straightened her back, and surveyed the room. We were all silent. There was a look of determination in her eyes.
言わせてもらいますと、これは意地です。私、茜ヶ崎空の意地。できることはわずかですが、皆さんがここにいられる限り、皆さんがここから無事脱出するためのあらゆる手段、方法を私は考え、試したいと思っています。あとしばらくの間、よろしくお付き合いのほどお願いいたします。
She concluded with a serious nod. We also nodded in agreement.
助けは必ず来ます。信じて待ちましょう。
Sora's serious expression gave way to a smile.
皆さんが無事救出されることをお祈りします。
Her calmness was the result of her efficiently functioning AI. Thankfully, nobody panicked. But was that a genuine smile from Sora? I was pretty sure it was. Because if that were fake smile, no, even if it were Sora's real smile, thinking about it, there was something sad about it. Not wanting anyone to realize my thoughts, I bit my lip. The gloomy atmosphere that had been hanging over the gathering lightened, and everyone started thinking about how they should spend their time. We transferred to the rest area. Everyone found a seat around the central stage. A ripple ran through the water on the floor. A wave slashed back and forth from wall to wall. This is serious. What are we going to do? I didn't have any ideas. A few quiet discussions were going on. Yet, from where I stood, it seemed the more people spoke, the murkier the answers became. From the beginning, it was the same debate repeated over and over again. Should we wait for help? Should we seek an escape route? All I could do was look to the ceiling. There was no sign that any bright ideas were on their way to my head. We were just waiting for the walls and ceiling to come crumbling down. A demon rumbled through the room as the floor began to shake. A wave of fear ran through us. Soon the shaking ceased.
もう大丈夫だよ。心配いらないって。ね、ソラ。はい、今の揺れはおそらく海底の熱水噴出口の噴出量が一時的に多くなったせいだと思います。
But her facial coloring still hadn't returned to normal. Everyone looked around the room, exchanging glances. And just like that, nervous tension refilled the room again. Not again. I decided to take charge. Alright, listen up, everyone. I rose to my feet and shouted to everyone. Listen, just stay where you all are. I'm going to check the kiosk on the second floor. Everyone looked shocked as I yelled. Some jaws even dropped. They may have been half put off by me. Still, I didn't concern myself with that. No matter how stupid it seemed, I continued. I'm going above to grab some snacks for everybody. There is plenty up there, and we still should be able to eat it. It'll be a pain to go get it later, and it doesn't make sense to let them go to waste. Alright, we're going to eat here. And let's have a good time. Oh, that's right. Does anybody want beer? You raised her hand timidly.
売店には置いてないはずだよ。地上と気圧が違うせいで悪酔いするお客さんがいたらしいから。
That's too bad. Well, hardly any of you look like you could hold your drink anyway. I guess it'll have to be juice.
Takeshi.
Now it was Kid who raised his hand.
上から運ばなくても飲み物ならまだタスタ売店の方にもたくさんあるよ。缶ジュース、紙コップもいるから僕が持ってこようか。
Alright, Kid, you do that.
任せてよ。
Helpful. The kid laughed. It seemed he was over that. That's from the day before.
ここも手伝うよ。
An excited Coco raised her hand, volunteering.
ピピも手伝いたいって。
Great. Alright, let's go and get the supplies.
そら、時間はまだあるよね。
You asked Sora this in a small voice.
正確なシミュレーションはできませんが、少なくともここは午後2時までは安全です。私が保証します。
Sora replied casually.
よし。
You nodded and looked up.
少年、一緒にタスタ売店に行こうか。飲み物ありったけここに持ってこよう。
オッケー、そうしよう。
あ、そうだ。
You slammed her fist into her hand excitedly and looked about the room.
つぐみはどうするの？ってあれ？いないね。つぐみ。
What? I frantically surveyed the room as well, but Tsugumi was nowhere in sight. Where the heck did she go? And when did she leave?
小町さんは先ほどさりげなく部屋を出て行かれました。2階に向かったようですけど。
しょうがないな。まあ、すぐに戻ってきてくれると信じますか。ね、くらなり。
Yeah.
それじゃあみんな、宴会の準備よろしく。
ああ、
おう。
Yeah.
宴会しよう、そうしよう。
I'd only thrown out the idea as a way to lighten the mood, and before I knew it, we had ourselves a full-blown party in the making. Well, whatever. It was better than having everyone moping around. Soon, Coco, Pee-Pee, and I left to get food. We took the emergency stairs.
ポッペポー、ポッペパッペポー、ポッピパッピプー、ピッピパッピピー。
As we climbed the stairs, Coco sang some crazy song. You seem like you're in a good mood, Coco.
なんかね、ドキドキワクワクするの。いよいよクライマックス。ヒロインたちの絶対絶命のピンチに颯爽とヒーローは現れる。
Okay, sure.
大丈夫ですか？お怪我はありませんか？そこまでだ。仮面怪人ドッペル男。悪は許さん。このニュートリのエナジーパワーにかけて邪魔を倒す。とうなんて思ったりして。あ、タケピョン呆れたでしょ。呆れ返ってるでしょ。
No.
なんて不謹慎なお子様なんでしょう。はあ、嘆かわしい。親の顔が見てみたいわ。とか。
No, it's not that. Not at all. I mussed up her hair affectionately.
誰かがね、ココたちのピンチに颯爽と現れてくれるの。そう思ってて、本当にそうなるといいな。ねえ、ココが勝手に思っちゃう分にはいいっしょ。
Yeah, you're right. You know, to tell you the truth, I'm thinking the same way. I think that someone might come to rescue us. I don't know about the neutrino stuff, though.
そうだよね。
We all like to believe that Hero was on the way, and that went for Coco, Pee-Pee, and me too. We reached the second floor. We turned down the corridor and entered the souvenir shop. Someone had beaten us there.
あれ、すぐにここに来てたんだ。
遅い。
Tsugumi looked a little miffed.
で、 どれを持っていけばいいの？ちょっと、何よたけし、その鳩が豆鉄砲を食らったような顔は。
Oh, it's nothing, nothing. I was surprised she even said anything to me. Okay, let's get started. 1 hour later, we began our party in an elevated part of the rest area. Even without alcohol, the party was lively. The kid and I distributed the snacks and drinks to everyone. It was then that you volunteered to provide some entertainment. First, she performed an impersonation of a strange old archaeologist who had a talent for cracking a whip. Then Coco came out in a makeshift sumo outfit and stomped her feet on the stage. Sora kept busy filling the room with hologram projections of rainbows. Rainbow-colored bubbles that floated from the water surface through the air were particularly pretty. After that, Tsugumi joined us. She added a little magic to the show as she dropped her hamster in her skirt pocket only to have it reappear in her breast pocket. That really impressed the crowd. Although I knew about her hamster, Chami, many didn't even know. Tsugumi kept a pet. Kid and I performed a comedy skit. We pulled out one-liners and impromptu gags, which got huge laughter from everyone. Says all that. Thanks. And we don't see any of it. Kid and I exited the stage to thunderous applause. Thank you, thank you. Actually, I was surprised too that you poked fun at yourself using the truth about you losing your memory as a gag. Oh. Yeah, I guess you're right. Well, it looks like I've got nothing more to teach you, so go ahead and follow in my comedy footsteps. Well, that's too bad. You should at least take notes. Notes! But never fear, I ain't taught you nothing yet. And that was about it. The party gradually wound down. I then took a trip back to the chicken sandwich stand and brought sandwiches back for everyone. We all munched on hot sandwiches. These were so good. It wasn't exactly the ideal breakfast food. Everyone happily downed their food. If LeMU collapsed soon, I thought that could be everyone's last meal. Everyone understood that, yet said nothing. No. Everyone understood, which is why they said nothing. Sora, I made up my mind to speak to her about the important things I had on my mind right after finishing my sandwich. With a slight smile, Sora gazed at me. Her eyes were like a clear, cloudless sky. Well, it's just that when I saw her smile, I wavered slightly, yet I continued to speak. About yesterday. Sorry, I don't know what to say, but... Sora spoke brusquely. Sora, you're lying, right? You haven't forgotten, right? I know I haven't forgotten. That's not just something you just forget about. I realize it's not something you can casually address, but... Sora gave me a bitter smile. What? Okay. How? Why? You're lying. You've got to be. I didn't want to believe it. She laughed again and gazed out at the others around the stage.
そのために私はいつでも笑っていられるようにできてるんですよ。それが私の制作者のポリシー。
I didn't want to talk about herself as something made, or how she was manufactured. So, something made, or how she was manufactured.
倉成さん、そんな泣きそうな顔をしないでください。
Yeah, right. Fine. I wish that I hadn't gone overboard last night, but I was wishing for the impossible. What I did.
ソラ、ちょっといい？あ、はい。小町さん、何でしょうか？
Tsugumi was suddenly standing right between Sora and I. Tsugumi let out a nervous laugh.
話があるの。二人で話したいんだけど。二人きりでですか？ええ、お願い。実は脱出についてあなたに一つ提案があるのよ。え、本当ですか？何かいい方法が？そうよ。私にならできるかもしれない。本当にできそうかどうか、空の意見を聞いてみたいんだけど。
What? Wait a second. Tsugumi, Sora, and I. Tsugumi held out her hand as if stopping my mouth in one motion.
私は空と二人だけで話したいの。構わないでしょ？はい、わかりました。では、中央制御室で。そうね。行きましょうか。
The two got down from the stage and set off with very serious looks on their faces. Wait, hold up, you two. Don't go starting something without telling everyone. Why can't you just talk here?
Takeshi.
Tsugumi turned around and shot a sharp glare at me. Her eyes were ice.
黙っててって言ったでしょ。
Sora and Tsugumi turned their backs to me and left together. Things around me got quiet. What the heck? What the heck is going on here? I felt alone. Balling up the sandwich wrapper, I threw it as hard as I could. The wrapper fell in the water, creating a series of ripples. You picked the wrapper out of the water and twisted it around her finger. Who cares? It doesn't matter at this point anyway. I'm not sulking. You shrugged and let out a deep sigh. I glanced over to the corner of the room and saw Coco and Kid climbing a statue. Looking over at them, you and I sat down on the circular stage. Well, because, I mean, it isn't like that at all. I was pretending I was fine. Even I knew the reason was obvious. I was worried about her. You let out another fake sigh again. Go ahead. As you wish. This time I was the one to sigh. Well, hurry up already. I'm not angry about anything. The kid and Peavy were playing sumo. Coco was the referee. I watching them as you spoke. I don't know. No, wait, maybe I do know.
なのよ。
I can't say either way.
はっきりしないやっちゃな。男だろ。
Alright, alright. But I can't talk about it. It's a secret between Sora and me. It was likely that Sora was jealous of Tsugumi and me, but I was pretty sure AI didn't understand emotions like jealousy, always bothered by emotions that she didn't understand. Sora, asking me to explain them to her. Sora, sharp twinges nagged at my heart.
そっかそっか。秘密なんだ。
Nagged.
ところでさ、レミを調べてて分かったんだけど、空の AI システムは自己学習は自動でできるけど、記憶操作は
Quit nagging me. What? What did you just say?
自己学習、データの蓄積は自動でできる。
No, the part after that.
記憶操作、消去は勝手にはできない。情報の優先度が変わるだけなの。思考修復はシステムが壊れた時の最後の手段。システムを管理する人間が承認して初めて可能になるのよ。
Meaning that she couldn't have undergone a system recovery last night. Sora. She told me the truth. But at the same time, she lied. A computer program that could only accept yes or no, ones and zeros, had tried desperately to accept the contradiction.
AI も人と同じなんだよ。知らんぷりはできるけど、そうそう簡単に忘れることはできない。
Why are you telling me this?
さあね。
You said this sarcastically, playing dumb. Then she laughed mischievously. Listen, you.
何？
Even if Sora's memory was being stored somewhere above us, do you think she really wants to be rescued with the rest of
ラ
us?
ナリはどう思ってる？
Of course, I want her to be saved along with everyone. LeMU is Sora's eyes, her body. Even if her mind is in another section, if this part sinks, part of her will go down with it. And if that's the case, no matter what we do, there's no way to rescue her from here completely.
そうだね。空も私たちと一緒に助かるといいね。
It sure would be nice for that wish to come true.
そうだね。
Coco and PP. I could hear splashes as they ran.
そうだ。私の恩人みたいな人がいて、その人から聞いた話があるの。信じて願えば叶い、現実になる。
Believe it, desire it, and it can. What is that, something you read in a book?
違うの。そんなことが現象として本当にあるとしたら、その仮説。
Hypothesis?
その名はキュレイ。
Cure? Cure. I pondered the word for a moment. Just then,
みんな大変だ。
Kid came running into the room yelling. Kid, where the heck did you just go?
大変ってどういうこと？
いいから来て、止めなきゃ。
Kid was breathing heavily, yelling between breaths. Stop what? Hey, explain what's going on.
何があったの？
Coco and PP came over to see what all the commotion was about.
中央制御室。空とつぐみ、あれから随分経つけど戻ってこないから。見に行ってみたら、ひどい口論になってて。僕見てらんなくて、それで。
まずいね。こんな時に。行こう。止めようよ。
Yeah, we better hurry. The kid, Coco, PP, you, and myself. We sped along the wet floor to the central control room. I pushed the button to open the door. We burst into the room. We found Tsugumi and Sora screaming at each other. Neither one would give an inch, they just glared at one another. It looked as though they had been fighting for several minutes. The room was filled with tension. Okay.
嘘
Yeah.
ドリフトストックの下にフロアはありません。降りることはできないんです。
Yeah. It's four beneath
あなた
again.
が嘘をついてる。クバレから下を覗いたり、あなたの目を盗んでレミにアクセスしたり、時間がかかったけどね。ようやく確証が持てたの。レミューにはさらに下の階があるって。レミューとは別の施設。それがこの真下にあるの。ずーっと下の方によ。ね、そうでしょ。その問いにはお答えできません。そう言わずに答えてよ。チューリングテストをしてみて、あなたが本物の AI だってことはよく分かった。だとしたらプロテクトでブロックされていない限り、人間に聞かれたことには正直に答えてくれるはずよね。それがあなたの機能なの。通常のエレベーターやリフトではあそこには行けない。唯一の経路は閉ざされた扉の部屋につながっている。その部屋、ヒンメル。それはソラ、あなたの名前でしょ。このままここでじっとしていても何にもならない。時は一刻を争うの。扉の先に真実はある。あの扉、ヒンメルの扉のパスワードを教えなさい、ソラ。確かにヒンメルはドイツ語でソラ、私の名前です。ですが小松さん、私にはあの扉を開く権限がありません。残念ながら。嘘よ。嘘じゃありません。大した人工知能ね。私をたばかるの？人間を騙せると思ってるの？嘘じゃない、本当なんです。私にはあの部屋の先にあるものの情報は何も与えられては。
やめて。
Coco jumped between them.
やめてよ、二人とも。
Both of them flinched for a moment, but continued to look bitter.
ココ、
やめて。お願いだよ。
これは私たちの問題なんです。ココちゃん、どきなさい。ココ、怒るわよ。
どうして？すぐみんもソラさんもやめようよ。なんで喧嘩するの？
喧嘩なんかじゃありません。喧嘩じゃないわ。
嘘だよ。喧嘩したらダメだよ。
Fresh tears welled and flowed from Coco's eyes. The tears had a freezing effect on Sora and Tsugumi. Coco started gasping. She suddenly ran to the corner of the console, or rather fell there. She leaned against the console, barely able to support herself. Coco's body was shaking slightly. Her lips trembled. I could see that her lips had gone pale quickly. It was different than crying. Coco. Hey, what? What's up with you all of a sudden? Coco's lips were suddenly steamed red.
ここ
The kid opened his eyes wide, looking shocked. Oh. Blood was flowing onto the floor of the control room. It wouldn't stop. It kept falling from their mouth.
どうしたの？ココちゃん。
Coco shook her head and trembled violently. She had her hand to her mouth, desperately trying not to cough.
なんてこと。これはこの症状は。
Sora looked as if she were about to panic.
症状？そんなのどうでもいい。
Tsugumi screamed furious.
見てわからないの？このままじゃココが。
ここ こしっかりするんだ。
クラナにどうしようどうしよう。
Hang on, everyone, don't panic. You've got to stay calm. I screamed out in a loud voice to everyone. Just calm the heck down, okay? Oh wait, maybe I need to calm down too. Everyone took deep breaths trying to settle down. Coco, just relax. You're going to be okay. Steadying her trembling eyes, Coco looked at me firmly. Good girl. Now hang on to me, Coco. I turned around and thrust out my back toward her. Can you get on? People looked up worriedly at Coco. We're going to the infirmary, Ans, wait. I realized that I was holding on to Coco. We were rushing up to Zoid's dock some 56 feet above us. I held Coco on my back with you and Tsugumi supporting her from the sides. Sora went ahead to guide us and the kid followed a short distance behind. We emerged at the second floor emergency corridor. Which was it, left or right? Okay. I know, just pipe down, would you? Coco was groaning in pain around my back, but I could still make it. There was no way I was going to fail. I wasn't going to say, it's no use, we're too late, and I wasn't going to let anyone else die either. Say it either, yeah. As long as there was someone who I wouldn't give up. I took a shortcut to the nearest elevator and rushed Coco to the infirmary. You pointed to the LMRI. Tsugumi and I laid Coco down on the flat table. Coco continued to breathe in her short, shallow manner. Although she had stopped coughing up blood, she seemed to be in a lot of pain. Her body lay still. The arm of the LMRI soon came to life and started to laser scan. The kid came up to the side of the table and stared at Coco, looking as if he would burst into tears. Sora, put the results up on the screen so everyone can see them. Suddenly, a few holographic windows appeared in the air. Images, including a thermal scan, ultrasound analysis, showing cross-sectional representations of her body, and a laser sampling were all displayed one after another. Of course, none of us were doctors, so there was little we could understand about her condition by looking at the pictures. All we could do was wait for the scanning equipment in LeMU's system to give us an answer. We stared at the images that flashed by on the screen and prayed. Then, the results suddenly appeared. Tief Blau 2017 or Ever17. What do you say? Sora hurriedly shut down the holographic window. She bit her lip and stared down in shock. Her expression showed how serious the situation was. Sora? What don't you believe?
Coco-chanは感染しています。
感染?
What?
それは
Sora wasn't able to suppress her agitation and opened her mouth hesitantly.
強力な致死性の高いウイルスです。
ティーフ・ブラウ。
Tief Blau?
Coco!
The kid ran over to Coco's side and held onto the table. He held onto Coco's arm as she lay there unconscious. The kid grabbed a hold of Coco's shoulders and shook her violently. Hey, cut it out. Stop it, kid. I pried his hands off Coco and pulled him away from her. Jerk, calm the heck down. What do you think that's going to accomplish anyway? The kid groaned in despair. Calm down. There's got to be something we can do. Don't get crazy. Let's just calm down and think. The kid somehow quieted down. He breathed heavily and glared at me. What do you think we should do, you?
そんなこと言われても私にはわからないよ。ソラ、何か対処法はないの？
応急処置でしたら可能です。ですが根源的な対策には。
応急処置で構わない。早くしないと。
You stopped yourself just short of screaming out.
お願いソラ、あなただけが頼りなのよ。教えて方法を。
アンプルを、症状に対応したアンプルが必要です。
アンプル？どれなの？
それがこの部屋にあるかどうか。
そんな。
You ran up to the wall and opened up a shelf filled with medical tools. You repeatedly asked Sora about the contents as she tore through them.
いえ、
これじゃないの？
違います。
こっちは？
それではありません。それも違います。
You dropped bottle after bottle of medicine onto the floor. Many of them exploded into pieces when they hit.
どうしよう。どうしたらいいの？答えてソラ。
残念ながら。
Phoebe came over to me and whined softly. Sora's face suddenly changed colors.
ピピちゃん、それをください。早く。
ピピちゃんが口に加えているそれです。
What? I quickly snatched whatever it was out of Phoebe's mouth and lifted it up. This?
アンプル。
Oh, it's a transparent capsule with orange liquid inside of it. How do we use it?
先を折って開封して、そのまま中身をココちゃんに注射してください。
Okay. You, do your magic. You ran over to where I was and grabbed the serum out of my hand. Coco held out a shaking arm. You silently inserted the syringe into her arm and administered the serum. After a few minutes. Although it was gradual, Coco's breathing became more even and the tremors in her body settled down.
あったようです。体調はある程度持ち直しました。危機は去りましたよ。
よかった。
Both you and Sora looked relieved. You looked as if she could cry. The kid looked up and let out a big sigh of relief. Scooby stared at Coco in silence. Hey, Pee-Pee. Who would have thought you'd find the serum? When did you get this? Where'd you find it? Pee-Pee whined pitifully. Alright. Everyone gathered around the LMRI where Coco slept. Sora, tell us what you can about the Tief Blau virus. That's the first time I've ever heard of it. Does anyone else know anything about it? When I asked the question, you, the kids, Scooby, even Pee-Pee all shook their heads. You said it has a high mortality rate. You don't have any idea when or how Coco got this, do you? I don't care if it is only a guess, or if you give me only the limited data you have. I just want to know. Coco came down with this out of nowhere. It doesn't help the rest of us to be ignorant. Sora got a strange expression on her face. After thinking for a moment, she gave us a wholehearted explanation.
わかりました。ティーフ・ブラウに関して私が語ることのできる情報のすべてをお伝えします。
A heavy silence descended upon the emergency room. Every once in a while, the sensor from the LMRI would sound out Coco's vital signs, the only noise to echo through the room.
ティーフ・ブラウ。
Sora started talking softly.
ティーフ・ブラウはLeMUの下にある研究施設にて研究されていた極めて致死性の高い悪性ウイルスです。
研究施設？ここの下に？
Yu's eyes opened wide.
ええ、EBF と呼ばれる施設がこの真下にあります。
EBF。
Tsugumi frowns.
決定的な事態を目の当たりにしてしまっては、さすがに人工知能の機密保守命令が解除されたか。人一人の命がかかっているのに黙ってはいられないみたいね。ごめんなさい。どうぞ続けて、ソラ。
After shaking her head lightly, Tsugumi let out a sigh.
はい。テーマパークレミューの運営母体、ライプリヒ製薬。そのライプリヒが設立した研究施設が EBF です。
357 feet beneath LeMU, there are thermal C4 vents. Living there are special microbes, which cannot be found in any other environment. And Weeblich Pharmaceutical created a research institute in order to study them. It is called IBF. Institute for Biologics Forschung. Translated, it means the Institute for Biological Research. LeMU and the research facility. Of the two, the first to be built was the research facility. Building a theme park was apparently just a front. The researchers at IBF were listed as managers of LeMU and were able to come and go as they pleased. That way, nobody would suspect that there was actually a research facility. At the same time, they could also get much needed funds for research. If they set up a successful theme park, they could get pretty much all the money they needed to run the research facility. So LeMU Pharmaceutical continued to carry out research into bacteria and viruses on the bottom of the ocean, 357 feet underwater.
EBF のことは極秘事項なんです。ライプリヒの中でも、レミューの中でも、知っているのはごく一部の人間だけ。EBF とレミューはコンピューターシステム上の別管轄になっていますし、私にも関連の乏しい断片的な情報しか教えられていなかったのです。今回の件で分散された情報を統合して初めて EBF が実在することをはっきり確信しました。
Oh.
とにかくティーフ・ブラウという未知の悪性ウイルスがあって、レミューの下の研究所でその研究は行われていた。それはおそらくそのティーフ・ブラウの治療方法を探るため。
ええ、おそらくそうです。それから EBF にはこちらの救護室よりもはるかに充実した医療設備が整っているはずです。あくまでレミのデータベースからの推測ですが、 EBF の診療室には最新型の高圧酸素治療装置があるようです。その治療装置を使えば白血球の殺菌作用が増大します。ココちゃんの症状をある程度緩和することができるかもしれません。症状を抑える効果のあるアンプル、先ほどのオレンジのアンプルも新たに入手できるでしょう。
IBF, huh? Can we go there? How do we get there?
待って。
The kid interrupted with a shout.
ちょっと待ってよ。おかしいよ、そんなの。どうしてココはそのティーフ・ブラウとかにかかっちゃったの？そんな恐ろしいウイルスにいきなり感染してるなんて、なんか変だと思わない？
そうね。でもココを治療したくてもこの場所ではこれ以上手が施せない。治療法の手がかりはその研究所 EBF にしかないわ。理由を探るのは後回し。もっとも空の言うことは全面的に信じればの話だけど、込み入った嘘をつけるほど器用じゃないはずよね。さっきは疑ってしまってごめんなさい。私は信用するわ、空のこと。
Sugumi smiled slightly.
はい、ありがとうございます。
Sora nodded sincerely.
私も信じるよ。何よりここでこのまま手をこまねいてばかりいられない。取り得る最善の方法を考えましょう。
I looked at you and Sora and nodded.
それで納得してくれる？少年。
そうだね。分かったよ。
Alright then. So it's decided then. We're going to IBF. It's the only chance we've got at saving Coco.
でも EBF に行くにはヒンメルを通らないとヒンメルの扉は開かないんですよ。
I don't care. We're going. We don't have any other options. Show me the way. It might not work. But we don't know that unless we try, right? Hey kid, give me a hand.
はい。
I picked up Coco's inert body and carried her piggyback. We went down the lift into the cramped emergency corridor. Tsugumi and the kid supported Coco, who was on my back from both sides. Sora and Pee-Pee went on ahead. You brought along first aid kit just in case. We were headed for dirt stocks some 17 meters below. We made it to the 3rd floor. We ran as quickly as we could go to where the locked door was waiting for us, using all the strength we had and all the power of our prayers. We flew forward. Here we are. We all stopped in front of the door. I briefly put Coco down and leaned her up against the wall. The kid went up to Coco and wet her shoulder. Himmel. The door that wouldn't open. Sora, I'm just asking to make sure.
何でしょう。
What does Himmel mean?
ドイツ語で空、それに天国。
Heaven, huh? They sure had given it an ironic name. So the question was, how in the world were we going to open that door? Asked Sora. Can you tell me what the access code to the electronic lock is? I asked Sora again.
不明です。EVF 研究員やこの部屋の専属スタッフにしか伝えられていないんです。
Even a hit would help.
私、解除コードを探してみます。
As soon as she said this, a transparent keyboard and console
レム
appeared
シ
in
ステ
front
ム
of
の
her.
セキュリティブロックにアクセス。キンベルのプロテクトキーを解除します。
The buttons on the electronic lock started to flash.
レミ、お願いだから私の言うことを聞いて。逆らわないで。
Sora was tapping furiously on the keyboard, battling with the system that was locking the door. It looked to me almost as if sparks were flying in the air. Sora's hands flew across the virtual keyboard. Unfazed, she continued to type. Sparks violently scattered out one after another. Her RSD image wavered and the virtual keyboard disappeared. Sora, are you okay?
すみません。アクセス拒否されました。
Oh, her image continued to flicker for a while. The next thing to try was... ask you. Hey you, is there any way to get around this lock that you know of? Huh, where do you go?
クラナリどいて
Eh? Turning towards the voice coming from behind, a few yards away I saw you throw down the first aid kit she had been carrying. Huh? Ah! She immediately came hurtling toward me as if possessed. She looked furious. Someone backed away from the door. With a perfect flying drop kick, she threw open the panel to the electronic lock. What are you doing? This isn't the time to be goofing
こ
off.
こにあって開かないならぶっ壊すしかないでしょうが
You shouted as she leaned over, panting. That's a little extreme. Well, how about it? Does it look like it's going to open?
びくともしてないじゃないのよ
Neither the door nor the panel had changed at all. He began hitting the lock with a renewed vigor, uttering strange noises, but all the lock did was make error sounds and asked politely for her to re-enter the password. In the end, you ended up with a sprained finger and went back to the first aid kit. Darn, what are we going to do? Coco was being supported by the kid. She couldn't stand by herself. She soon was hunched over on the floor. I tried pulling her up again, but her face quickly drained all color. This is bad. If we don't get in there quickly.
Öffnen the Tour von Himmel.
Suddenly a voice that I hadn't heard before sounded from the corridor. What's it saying?
誰かがレミシステムにアクセスしています。
Sora flashed open her eyes and shouted.
この部屋の中、ヒンメルの端末からです。
What? The access indicator light for the electronic lock turned green. The hatch's lever raised and turned automatically. The door opened suddenly. Oh. Stagnant air poured out of the room. For some reason, the humidity felt like it was lower than outside. The air conditioning was humming quietly. It was white. It was pure white inside. The whiteness of the wall and floor was emphasized by the brightness of the lighting and seemed to leap out at us. Himmel. It didn't necessarily seem like a mistake to have named the room Heaven. There were nameplates on the machines with Himmel written on them. It seemed that we were in the computer control room. Hey, there's someone here. Did he open up the door just now? There was a single person in the room. He was a man who appeared to be in his 40s, dressed in a white lab coat, and blood was coming from his mouth, and he had passed out on the console. Hey, mister, are you alright? The man didn't reply to me. He just lay there motionless. Who is this guy? Sora, do you have any idea who this is?
いいえ、ID 照合できません。ですが、その服装からするとおそらく EBF の研究員の方だと思います。
I put my hands on his shoulder and raised him into a sitting position. I looked over his white clothing to see if it had any name tags, or other way to determine his name, but he didn't have any ID card or nameplate to check. Hey, are you one of the staff from the research facility? Breathing faintly, the researcher replied. He seemed to be unable to open his eyes and searched for me by voice. He grabbed onto me with shaking hands. They were covered in blood. Does he have the virus too? Blood trickled from his mouth and he smiled dryly. Hey, don't strain yourself. You don't have to talk. What happened? Did something happen down there? After that, he was silent. Hey, hang in there. I shook his shoulders, but he didn't reply.
Takeshi, 乱暴はやめなさいよ。彼はもう気を失っているわ。手を離してあげて。
Okay.
こうなれば、彼も一緒に連れて行くしかないでしょうね。
I wondered what was going on. Wait, more importantly, we've got to hurry. I don't have a clue what's going on, but I can't worry about that now. We've got to get Coco to IBF right away. Hugh, who had been waiting at the entrance to Himmel, went inside with PP. The kid followed behind, carrying Coco. The door had an electronic lock on it, so we left it open.
皆さん、この部屋の奥にもう一つ部屋があります。見えますか？
Yeah.
ええ、わかるわ。
We all nodded. There was a room on the other side of that glass in front of us.
あれは EBF 用の加減圧室です。
Sora straightened up and explained the situation without emotion.
私の持つわずかなデータから判断しますと、EBF には通常のLeMUよりもさらに高圧のガスが封入されています。EBF もまた飽和潜水仕様というわけです。その方が特殊な細菌の研究に適しているということもあるのでしょう。EBF の内部気圧は実に約 12.5 気圧。皆さんにはあの部屋に入っていただきます。そして加減圧室での約1時間の加圧が完了次第、専用リフトで EBF へと加工することになります。念のため申し上げておきますが、ここから先は容易に後戻りすることはできません。皆さん心してください。
We can't go back. We've got to make a decision. Alright, we're going. I looked at everyone. You, the kids, Sagumi, Sora, and PP all nodded. Kid and you held the unconscious Coco between them. Tsugumi and I picked up the researcher and PP took up the rear. Everyone lined up at the transparent sliding door on the far side of the room. Sora used the control panel on a terminal to open it up. All of us entered the room together. A single panel of reinforced glass went in between the control room and the compression door. More precisely, a chamber set in the middle of the room had been constructed there. We brought Coco and the researcher into the room first and sat them down on chairs. Both of their greeting was ragged, and they looked in pain. Their faces were extremely pale and sickly. We needed to hurry. I hated to waste an hour here. You, the kids, Tsugumi, and PP all stood in the open space available. With everyone in there, it was very crowded.
加圧が完了すれば部屋の奥の扉が自動で開いてリフトへ行けるようになりますから。
For some reason, Sora didn't enter the room, but spoke to us
加
from
圧
in
は
front of the
最速で
entrance.
行います。ちょっと辛くなるかもしれませんが、なんとか我慢してください。
And saying this, Sora went to close the door. Sora, what's wrong? You aren't coming with us?
いえ、私は。
Come on, let's get started. What are you waiting for? I casually reached out towards Sora. I knew I couldn't grab her, but I did it anyway. However, as soon as I tried to touch her, sparks flew into the air. It felt as though a shock had gone through me. A transparent wall suddenly appeared in front of the door. There was a red wall of flame. What? Alarmed, I drew back my hand and the door closed. Sora, what was...
ここから先はコンピューターの感覚が違うんです。
I heard Sora's voice talking to us calmly over the speaker of the compression chamber's room.
レミの機能の一部ですから、EVF には降りられないんです。アクセス権限がないんです。残念ですが、ここでお見送りさせていただきます。
The wall of fire had vanished. We were in the compression chamber, shut off from the rest of the world. The sound of pumping gas, which was slowly raising the air pressure, could be heard throughout the chamber. Hey, everyone, take out your voice converters. They get in the way when you're adjusting to the pressure. Everyone did as I said and removed their voice alternators. I took out Coco's myself. I checked the researcher, but it didn't seem he was wearing any. After that, hardly anyone said a word. We were all waiting for the time to pass. Sora could be seen outside the chamber's window. She didn't move, only stood and watched us. And then, the lock from the door on the far side of the chamber clicked and released. I felt a subtle change in pressure, and the lift down to IPF opened. We all filed into it one
そ
by
れでは
one.
皆さん、どうかご無事で。
We could hear her voice from the speaker on the other side of the room, but we couldn't see her. I wondered if I would ever see her up close again. Cocking my head to one side, I thrust the voice alternators back in my ears. Everyone got aboard the lift. And as soon as the doors closed, the elevator started sliding down.
70 Meter. Tiefe 80 Meter. Tiefe 90 Meter.
What could be below heaven? More heaven, or...
Tiefe 119 Meter.
The door to the elevator opened. The passage extended in two directions from the elevator room. I went in one of these. Everything was totally dark, and I could hardly tell where I was headed. Fearfully, I took a step forward. And suddenly, as if someone had noticed our arrival, the lights went on in the room. Is someone there?
勝手についたみたいだったけど、センサーが反応してコンピューターが照明を操作した。
わからないけど、あり得るね。
It seemed that there was a pool where a small submarine could dock. The pool was a two-layer structure, but there was no sign that seawater could flow in. It felt a little hot in there, but it seemed as if the air conditioning was still working properly. Perhaps the place was even more comfortable than the flooded dritz dock, but there was no sign of anyone. Anyway, let's get to where we have to go. We opened a watertight door at the other side of the room and continued deeper into the installation. A passageway the same size as LeMU's emergency corridors, no, maybe even smaller, led off into the distance. For some reason, the whole place seemed colder, less alive than the structure above. As we continued down the corridor, lights would go on automatically a few feet in front of us. Yeah. Well, it certainly seems computer controlled. As we continued moving, the lights followed us, lighting up the only areas around us. The corridor branched off in a few directions, but all of them ended at watertight doors that were closed. I wondered if IPF had flooded except for one part. Anyway, the number of areas that we could enter was limited. Luckily, we found the examination room right away. I quickly turned the handle and opened the door. You and the kid laid Coco down on a nearby table. Tsugumi and I put the researcher down in a chair slowly. There were a few ordinary beds in the examination room and the same kind of MRI that we had found in LeMU's infirmary. There were numerous medical instruments that looked like things that you might only see in a science fiction movie. I wondered what in the world they were for. I had no idea. Hey, you, where is that high-pressure oxygen thing that Sora was talking about?
わかんないよそんなの。
Tsugumi, what should we do?
調べるしかないわ。ここのことは誰も知らないんだから。
待て。
The researcher coughed as he spoke. Hey, don't move. Are you okay?
無事とは言えんが、まだ生きてるよ。
With his eyes closed, he raised his hands weakly in response.
ここは EVF か。戻ってきてしまったな。
So you were working here. Well then, there's something I want to ask you. We're looking for something called a high-pressure oxygen treatment device. We've come as far as the examination room, but we don't have a clue what to look for. Can you help us, please?
酸素治療。ああ、ポッドだな。合金製のカプセルがあるはずだ。中にマットが敷いてある。円筒形の柱にくっついてるやつだ。見えるかい？
Yeah, they're right in front of me.
そいつがそうだ。
Hang in there. We found them, so don't waste your energy talking anymore, okay? New blood appeared in the researcher's closed hand
あ
as he
と
licked his
は
mouth.
マニュアルを見てくれ。操作は簡単なはずだ。
Okay, I got you. The strength left the researcher's hand. Just before he collapsed, I grabbed onto his shoulder to support his body. Let's put him in a pod, and Coco too.
そうね。
Tsugumi and I got on either side of the researcher and supported him. We brought him over to where the 3 pods were. When I pressed the button on the side one, its hatch opened. I put him down gently inside. When I pressed the button again, the capsule pod closed again silently. The kid and you laid Coco down in another pod. The hatch to the pod closed soon after. Did you find the manual?
見つけた。
Excuse me.
こっちのコントロールパネルで。
You started operating a terminal a short distance away.
酸素治療。セット。
The screens on the monitors attached to the tubes flickered, and both of the pods seemed to be functioning normally.
大丈夫なはずよ。
Okay. The condition of the people inside the pods was monitored and appeared on the control panel. The blood pressure, heart rate, respiration, expressions on their faces were even visible. I watched them for a few minutes. Coco and the researcher's name we didn't know. It was a slow process, but they both seemed to be gradually returning to normal.
よかった。
ええ。よかったわ。本当に。
Looks like we made it in time. We let out a collective sigh of relief. It seemed as if we had escaped the worst for the moment. Well, we don't have time to hang around, you know. We didn't know if the situation here at IBF was any different than LeMU. There might be other survivors or a way out, even communications. We could possibly even find information about LeMU. IBF. Wait. Oh, TB. About TB. Yeah. It was best to search as much as time would allow. Everyone agreed, so Tsugumi, the kid, and I were looking around IBF. You had the most medical knowledge, so she stayed in the examination room with Pee-Pee to look after Coco and the researcher. Because we were unfamiliar with the area, the 3 of us set out together to look around. We walked all around IBF. But since there were only a few places, there wasn't much to see. Almost all of the corridors had been blocked off, and there were many doors that didn't open. When I tried forcing open one of the doors, a terrible smell started pouring out, so I hurriedly closed it again. From what I had seen during the brief moment the door was open, a few researchers covered in blood had died clawing at their throats. I didn't really want to think of what had happened there. It wasn't hard to imagine that the situation had been the same or worse than what happened at LeMU. Another room was empty of people, and there were a few computer terminals there. Operating the terminals, we were able to scan through some of the information left there. There was some information about Tief Blau. Name, Tief Blau. Symptoms: fever, chills, headache, aching muscles, loss of appetite, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pains, etc. As it progresses, the patient begins to hemorrhage from the mouth, gums, conjunctiva, conjunctiva, nasal cavity, the skin, as well as the alimentary canal, and has a high probability of dying. Death rate after contracting the disease over 85%. Oh man, that's scary. The symptoms first appear similar to that of a common cold, and while they may temporarily improve, the patient's condition will again rapidly deteriorate, resulting in hemorrhaging. Incubation period, normally 2 to 7 days. After that point, all the data was corrupted and it was not clear what else was written. Other than that, we came across some interesting information by accident. In the corner of a business log, IBF visitor registry, Coco Yagami. Coco's name had been listed. Looking further into the file was what seemed like a personal memo written by somebody. I get to see my daughter for the first time in a while. Her school is on vacation, so she had a 10-day break. I've been trapped for so long in this tin can doing virus research that I'm just jealous. That aside, when I told her that special permission had been granted for her to come down and see IBF, she sent me a happy reply saying she would. We've exchanged mail every once in a while, but I wonder how long it's been since we've actually seen each other. I'll just be happy if she hasn't forgotten what I look like. T.Y. T.Y. I thought they were probably the initials of Mr. Yagami, Coco's dad, which meant that Coco had been to IBF once before May 1st, to meet her father. We didn't find any other survivors in IBF. The kids, Sugumi and I, all went back to the examination room. How are they doing? Oh. You look tired. As she sat down and faced the pod's control panel, I looked at the monitor showing vital signs. Blood pressure, heart rate, respiration rate, they all seem to have stabilized for the moment. I hesitantly asked you, yeah, did you find something?
Tief Blau ウイルスの治療法。決定的なものはまだ発見されていないみたい。対処療法として例のオレンジアンプルの注射で症状を一時的に緩和することはできるけど、あとは確率の低い自然治癒を待つしか方法はないらしいの。
Oh, that sucks.
それってどういうこと？
You had trouble finding the words, so Sugumi took over for her.
そうね。つまりココが治るにはココ自身の免疫機能が頑張るしかないってこと。私たちは彼女をポットに入れて、あとは祈るしかない。そうだね。そういうことになる。
そんなココは治らないの
The kid looked like he was about to cry. Nobody said that. Whether she gets better or not is up to Coco's will to live. The kid walked up next to the capsule pod.
Coco.
He latched firmly onto the pod as though he would embrace it and started to
あの
cry.
ポットがココをどれだけ助けてくれるかも未知数なの。
You murmured softly as she read the life signs on the
高
monitor.
圧酸素治療の他にもレーザーでの現金やら簡単な手術のできる機能も備わってるらしいし、使い方によってはハイバネーションすら可能のようだけど。ハイバネーション？
What's that, you?
わからない。マニュアルにそうあっただけ。結局私たちには何も分かってない。今は信じて待つしかないの。
A sharp alarm sounded from the control panel monitor. Not knowing what it was, we all looked at the monitor at once. The kid ran over to where we were. An agonized expression came over the face of the researcher. He thrashed and contorted inside of the cramped capsule. Hey, mister! The researcher coughed violently and clawed at his throat. His hand and the area around his mouth were stained red. The color quickly drained from his skin. His breathing became shallow and he groaned in a low voice.
そんな、いきなり容体が変わるなんて。
Hey, mister, stop grabbing at your throat like that. You'll crush it. He slowly lowered his hands, which he'd been thrashing at his throat with. Hey, mister, are you alright? The researcher was barely breathing. He was trying to breathe. He let out a gasp, but wasn't able to bring in air. Oh. You pored over the manual and desperately searched the control panel, but there was nothing she could do. There was no way for her to keep him alive. She pounded on the manual, then placed both elbows on the panel and covered her face with her hands. She burst into tears. Scooby and the kid gazed at the monitor with strained expressions. The researcher's vital signs were getting weaker. He looked as though he were smiling, and his eyes closed. He would never move again. The life readings from the capsule pod went blank, and electronic alarm sounded sounded for what seemed like forever. We couldn't save him. We didn't have the power to save that man, whose name we didn't even know. I reached out my hand and turned off the alarm on the panel. How is Coco? You replied in a voice filled with tears. That was Mr. Yagami! Okay, thanks. We'll have to make sure he gets a proper burial. Everyone was motionless for a while. Proof of how serious the situation was lay right before our eyes. But time rolled ever forward. We didn't have any more room to play around. Dragging my legs, which seemed suddenly very heavy, I went to check all the areas in IBF once again. We had to find a way out as soon as possible. After searching again, the only thing we realized was that all of the escape pods were gone. The researchers had probably used them to get out. There was no deep water diving gear, no oxygen tanks. Meaning, all routes of escape had been cut off. We were quickly approaching the earliest estimated time for Remu's implosion. It was almost May 6th, 4:30 p.m. We finished making our rounds. The kid and Tsugumi went back to the examination room where Coco was. Trading places, Yu left the room, and Tsugumi took her place at the console watching her vital signs. Yu and I talked in the corridor about what course of action we should take. Looks like we don't have any other options. What do I'm thinking about it. You smiled slightly. What's that supposed to mean? Really? You think so? I wouldn't say I was positive, Sass. I probably just don't notice the really dangerous things. You puffed up a little. No, not at all. I'm too dumb for that. And because I'm not so smart, I've got to think really hard about everything. But you know what? I think we're going to be okay. I mean, we got this far, didn't we? You laughed in response to my earnest reply. Sure, it's gonna be alright. A sound roared in the distance. It was probably being transmitted through the water to IBF. where we were. Was it the sound of the thermal vents? I wondered if we were still hanging in there. Although the situation we were in didn't look great, there were still various options available to us. Hey, you, it's about that old guy, but...
研究員さん、結局助けられなかったね。
Yeah, but I was thinking, why was he the only one left here? Everyone else got out earlier, right? Well, besides those guys that didn't make it.
そうだね。どうしてなんだろう。わからない。わからないけど、でも彼には逃げられない事情があったのよ。生き延びるだけの事情も。
Circumstances?
実は彼が亡くなる前、みんなが探索に出てる間に少しだけ話ができたの。研究員さんは苦しそうだったし、私はちょっと気がとがめたんだけど、彼話してる方が気分が楽だからって。だから。
I see. Well, what did he talk about?
彼はティーフ・ブラウにかかって、この EBF で何日も生死の狭間をさまよいながらずっとレミューのことを心配していたの。あの研究員さんは EBF に来る前はレミューのシステム開発に関わっていたらしいの。レミューの管理プログラムを作った開発スタッフのうちの一人だったってそう言ってた。
Meaning that...
ヒンメル、レミ、そしてソラ。彼の手になるものはレミューにあった。プログラマーにとってはレミューのシステムは自分の子供のようなものなのよ。
Meaning he was worried about his children?
きっとそうね。
Oh.
レミューの子供たちのことを思って彼は生き延びたのかもしれない。
Oh. Leaning against the wall, he looked his way as calmly lapped in the pool.
そうだ。研究員さんから聞いて確認できたことがあるの。私が警備室の端末で見つけた時は半信半疑だったけど。
What's that?
レミのセキュリティパスを途中まで外してて、その時本当のことが分かったのよ。
So what is it already?
空の居場所。空は私たちの知っている空はインゼルヌルにいるわけじゃないの。
Eh?
浮島にレミの中音演算処理装置マスタースパコンがあるのは確かだけど、レミューで起きた出来事の全てはレミュー内の記憶装置に格納されることになってるみたい。
What? I mean, can you tell me that in simpler language? So that someone even dumb like me can understand?
そうね。タイプリース製薬は赤長崎空のシステムプログラムのオリジナルを保有している。だからこのレミューにいる空を失っても痛くも痒くもない。極端な話をすれば空システム自体はいくつも複製を作ることができるってこと。ここにいる空もその複製のうちの一つなのかもしれない。
More than one Sora. Multiple copies, clones, present everywhere. That's what she meant.
考えてみて。空は空でしょ。私たちの知っている空はたった一人だけでしょ。じゃあ空と別の空を区別するものは何？
Separates differences, truth. Sora and the imposter.
分かったクラナリ。記憶だよ。私たちとここにいる空が共有しているものはたった一つ。記憶だけなんだよ。
Really? Even if Sora was everywhere, there was only one Sora Kanegasaki that I knew, meaning Sora's memory is here at LeMU. Sora. Himmel. So then that means Sora's mind and spirit are here in Himmel. I couldn't hold back. You gave me a nod when I asked this question. But if Dritstock starts flooding,
そうもう二度と私たちの知ってる空には会えなくなるの。
I kicked a dirty old bottle that was at my feet. It landed in the pool and slowly sunk. We went back to the corridor.
蔵なりごめんね。前に混乱させるようなこと言っちゃって。空はインゼルヌルにいるかもなんて。
Don't worry about it. We know where she is now. Even if we were able to get out of LeMU safely, the Sora up at Incel Mill wouldn't be the Sora that we knew. She would have the same thought process and look the same, but it would be a different Sora. That Sora wouldn't be the one who loved flower beds and who had made it rain. It wouldn't be the Sora who looked at me from the other side of the glass window. The Sora who told a hopeless guy like me that she loved me. The only place she existed was here. Hey, Takeshi. Why was I created? What is the purpose of my being alive? Huh? I felt strange and stopped suddenly. I looked up.
蔵なりどうしたの？
You followed my gaze to the ceiling. There was nothing there. She returned her gaze to me. I'm not really sure, but for some reason it's hard to breathe all of a sudden.
蔵なり話？鼻血が出てる。
I quickly put my hand to my nose. My upper lip was wet with something.
ちょっと大丈夫？
You looked worriedly at my face. Fine, I'm fine. I looked up and wiped under my nose as I replied. I wasn't thinking anything sexual, absolutely positively.
怪しいな。
As if, not at a time like this. My nose wouldn't stop bleeding.
あれ、
Okay.
本気で鼻血みたいね。
Look, I told you, right? I really wasn't thinking anything profound. Okay,
だって何？
you started shaking my shoulder. Achoo! I let out a huge sneeze. Blood flew not only from my nose, but also from my mouth in large amounts. It splattered all over the floor and onto the wall. Whoa! I was suddenly assaulted by dizziness. The world felt like it was spinning. For some reason, I can't keep steady. Although I didn't feel so great, it seemed funny for some reason when I laughed. What's with this? Oh no, not Takeshi too!
しっかりして。
Quit shaking me, it's making me feel ill.
ごめん。
Hey, I'm fine, don't worry, you.
冗談よしてよ。血まみれじゃない蔵なり。診療室に行こう。すぐ見てもらった方がいいよ。
Yeah. This isn't good. I gotta get a hold of myself. I tried to calm myself down. With you supporting me, I walked down the corridor. Just then, a door flew open in front of us. It was the examination room. Out of it flew Sugumi.
ユウ、たけし、少年の様子。
No! Him too! With eyes that show the gravity of the situation, she yelled at us.
少年が
Uh,
どうしたの？大変なのよ。いいからとにかく中へ。まさかたけしもなの？
Sugumi noticed the shape I was in and opened her eyes in shock.
蔵なりも？
What are you talking about? Oh, jeez. Well, get away from us. The kid was sleeping on the LMRI table. His results from the scan came up on their control panel's monitor. Tief Blau 2017 for Ever17.
少年も
No! We got infected too. How could that happen? Why? He's been with us the whole time. So why and where did he get TB? I'm a little to myself, finding it hard to breathe all of a sudden.
たけし、落ち着きなさいよ。ティーフ・ブラウの正確な感染経路は私たちには分かってないんだから。
クラナリ、あなたもスキャンを受けて。
Why?
スキャンを受けてよ、頼むから。いきなり鼻と口から血を吹くなんて普通じゃないでしょ。
Yeah, I know, but
手伝う。
Tsugumi gently took the kid off the LMRI examination table and forcibly put me up on it. Passing on both my shoulders, she forced me down on the table. You don't have to do that. Fine, I'll let you check me. I brushed Tsugumi's hands off of me. See, I'm lying down now.
オッケー。ユウ、スキャンをお願い。
You started operating the control panel. The scanning light from the laser crawled slowly up my body. After a while,
スキャン完了。
what's it say? My voice cracked when I asked the question. No. At least say something, you.
結果は
You stared at the panel without moving.
結果は黒。たけしももう感染してる。
Tsugumi read the monitor for me. Why? Why did I catch TB? Because we came to IBF? No, it couldn't be that. I must have had it longer than that. Since getting to LeMU? Maybe we're all infected. Darn it. I stood up from the LMRI and was assaulted by a terrible dizzy spell. Whoa.
たけし危ない。
The one to steady me from falling was the kid. But from the looks of it, his legs weren't very steady either. Putting my hand on a wall, I somehow held myself up.
困ったもんだね。
You can say that again.
例のアンプルがあれば、オレンジのアンプル。
The kid pressed his hand to his face. As he wiped his mouth, I noticed a thin trail of blood there. Yeah, a serum. If they've been handling TB here at IBF, they should have some of that. If we use that, then the symptoms should lessen. I went around the examination room and checked to see if I could find it anywhere. Tsugumi and Yui hurriedly started checking through the medicine cabinets. The kid sank to the floor. He didn't look very good. His breathing was ragged. He had lines of pain etched on his face.
ダメ、ないみたい。
こっちも見当たらないわ。
The two of them were shaking their heads. Darn, what are we gonna do? Hey, PP, you seem like you're doing pretty well. Without me noticing, PP had come up and was darting around my legs. His tail was wagging frantically. He suddenly dropped a few small objects from his mouth. Hey, where'd you get?
どうしたの？
You ran over to where we were.
これってオレンジの
He got it again! She picked up one of the fallen objects in front of PP. It was a small capsule, a capsule with orange liquid inside of it. 4 of them had fallen on the floor. Where do you find that, PP? Why do you have all of these? I didn't know if you'd understand me, but I asked PP anyway. PP shook his head from side to side. Were there any more of these? He shook his head. This is all of them? He nodded. Well, we need to take these immediately. Sorry, you, but get these ready. You're the only one who
注射器
knows
は
where
こ
to
っ
give
ちで見つか
shots.
ったわ。ユウ。
わかった。
We gathered all of the cartridges of serum from the floor and put them on the bed. Looking slightly doubtful, you prepared the syringes one at a time and gave the kid and me our shots. Phew, we can relax for a while now.
サンキュー、ユウ。
どういたしまして。
Sitting with his back against the wall, the kid gave you a thumbs up. After that, he smiled and closed his eyes. He must have fallen asleep. What do we do about Coco?
まだ高圧酸素療法の最中よ。ポットを開けることはできないわ。治療は今のところ順調。あそこに入っている限り 症状の急激な悪化はないと思うけど。
Yeah, okay. By the way, what about you, Tsugumi? Are you okay?
スキャンはさっき一人で受けたわ。今は平気。でも自覚症状がないだけかもしれない。
Looking slightly worried, Tsugumi said this. Oh, why don't you give Tsugumi a shot? You opened up another one of the containers and gave Tsugumi a shot. Oh yeah, you should probably give yourself a shot too, don't you think, you?
いや、私は。
Next shot had already been prepared, but for some reason he was stalling. She started coughing suddenly. Hey, give yourself a shot quickly. She wouldn't stop coughing. Her arm holding onto the syringe started to shake.
呼吸。
Her coughing finally stopped, but her hands wouldn't go still. What's wrong? You aren't feeling well? You want me to give the shot to you?
やだよ。注射。私注射苦手なの。
Huh? You didn't have any problem sticking everyone else.
自分でするのは嫌なんだ。
そうなの。痛いの嫌いなの。
You puffed out her cheeks stubbornly. What are you talking about? Your life's on the line here. What do you do? Give me that syringe, you. Reaching out quickly, I latched onto Yu's arm. Tsugumi, hold her down.
了解。
Tsugumi forced Yu to sit on the bed and held her so that she couldn't move.
何す。痛い。
Stop complaining. I grabbed onto Yu's arm and stuck the needle in it.
こら、どこに刺してるのよ。違う、そこじゃないって。ラボにしないで。痛い痛い。もうゆっくりやってよ。
Well, stop squirming around so much.
角度が変。おかしいって。空気が入っちゃうじゃないのよ。
Stop complaining. You can't do it yourself.
下手くそ。
Shut up.
やめて、離して。死んじゃうよ。痛いよ。
You idiot. We're giving you this so you won't die. Tsugumi slumped her shoulders. Yu was throwing a tantrum like a spoiled child. Small droplets of blood red stained the bed's white sheets. After that, you got scanned on the LMRI. I suspected had come down with TV. We didn't have room to mess around anymore. In the end, you wouldn't let me do it, so she ended up giving herself the shot, complaining the whole time with tears in her eyes. I'm not sure how long our condition will hold with just one shot. Hey, you, do you think we can do anything after it stops working? She was sitting at the computer terminal, silently typing on the keyboard. You, tell me what we can expect.
話しかけないでよ。気が散る。
Alright, alright.
まあ、とにかくやってみるから。誰かが通信ソフトにロックをかけて、ここから外に連絡できなくしてる。でも時々、外から混戦気味に通信データが入ってくるのを見つけたから、ロックを外せれば、あるいはまともに通信できるようになるかもしれない。何の連絡の手立てもなかったレミューよりはまだ希望があるよ。
Alright, show me what you got, genius.
オッケー。
I left you for a while and went to look at the monitor attached to the capsule. Tsugumi came over to stand next to me and looked at the monitor. She's in serious but stable condition.
そう。
According to the monitor, it would be 4 hours before Coco could leave the pod. The pod was full of high-pressure oxygen. We couldn't take Coco out of there until the time had come. The kid snored next to Coco's pod, frowning slightly. I couldn't say that his condition looked good. I could only pray that he would hang on a little longer. For a little while after that, my attention wandered. I don't know how much time passed. I was not sure whether things were real or a dream. Was I alive? Was I dead? I didn't know. I slept like I was dead. Was I dead? Was I sleeping? Which was it? And where was the me that was thinking about everything?
あと少しだけ時間があったらデータを取り出せたのに。警備室の端末、最後のパスワードやっと分かったのに。そうだ、イメルからならテラバイトディスクにコピーして。
That's right. Just a little more. Just have to stay alive for a little bit more. I woke from my stupor, a stale cold feeling. I realized I had been sleeping sprawled on the floor. I slowly raised my body. I tried opening and closing my fists. Strange. The movement left me with an uncomfortable sensation like it wasn't my own. I shook my head. I tried slapping my cheek. I breathed in the cold air and breathed out. Strange. The inside of my head stayed dull and murky. I dragged myself to consciousness, forcefully reeling myself back to clarity. Putting my hands on the floor, I pulled up my heavy, aching body. My feet faltered. But somehow I managed to stand. I looked around the infirmary. I saw several used syringes scattered on the floor. The kid was still slumped against Coco's pod. He looked disturbingly bad, just completely out of it. Sugumi was nowhere to be seen. I wondered where she had gone to. Yu was half slumped over the terminal console, snoring away. She looked like she was in some pain and was perspiring in her sleep. Her hand was pushed against the panel as if she had been in the middle of typing. On a monitor, auto-repeated strands of letters were lined up without meaning. What the? I heard a strange sound. I reinserted the voice converter into my ear. It wasn't a problem with the converter. Was I actually hearing someone's voice over the speaker? I hurried over to the terminal and removed Yu's hands from it, taking over the control panel. Hello! This is the IBF infirmary. Over. Yeah, okay, loud and clear. I was somehow able to force out an answer. Voices spilled out from the other end of the line. Hey, there are survivors down here. I can't believe it. That's amazing. That's what I wanted to say. It seemed like you had been able to restore the communications lines. Yeah, it should be fine. In the examination room, there are 5, no 6. How long till they get here? 1 hour. Coco should be able to get out of the pod by then. I just hope we have that long. Something goes wrong? What do you mean? You don't say. The communications cut out suddenly. Hey, wait a sec. I hit the call button repeatedly, but there was no answer. Darn it, we can't open up communications from this side. I didn't have any other choice. I began reading through the manual on the side of communication terminal. A mini submersible for deep sea exploration. We hadn't found it when we'd searched the place. Ah, here it is! Following the instructions, I used the control panel to call up information on the monitor. It's a small electric submersible. The submarine was in a separate sealed sector attached to IBF. The specifications said it was a neutral buoyancy miniature submarine for saturation diving. The important thing was it could be brought over to the pool by remote control. If things get dangerous, I guess they want us to board this. I quickly went about setting up the remote control program so that we could move the submarine at a moment's notice if we had to. Alright. All we have to do now is get Tsugumi and Sora over here. Sora. How are we going to get Sora here? I was overcome by unease. Suddenly, a low metallic crash reverberated throughout the installation. The sound seemed to come from above. An alarm sounded from the terminal, and the screen changed. Warning, LeMU hull breach, flooding. LeMU! This is bad. This means Sora and Tsugumi. I ran out into the corridor. It was only slight, but the floor was trembling. I suddenly became dizzy again. Losing my balance, I crashed into a wall. My recovery wasn't complete yet. I still gotta go. I have to go. I took all the strength I could muster and headed to the pool room. Tsugumi, you've been here? Thank God. Just as I headed through the watertight door, I met with Tsugumi.
Takeshi.
She looked at me strangely. Yeah, Tsugumi, there's a rescue team on the way. They said it would take about an hour. I want you to wait for them in the examination room. They said they were from the Maritime Defense Force. Yu was able to open up a communication line up to Insonol. Tsugumi, are you okay? Okay, then I want you to get back to the examination room right away. Everyone else is in bad shape. I want you to look after them. And saying that, I headed for the lift. Up to LeMU. We've still got an hour. I'm going to go get Sora. Tsugumi chased after me and grabbed onto my arm. I know. I've got to think of a way. No, wait. I already know what I've got to do. I tore myself away from her grip and tossed her aside. Tsugumi called out at me in a tearful voice as she lay sprawled on the floor, but I didn't turn back. As soon as the door opened, I flew into the lift. The elevator headed up.
Tief 90 meter. Tief 80 meter. Tief 70 meter.
Upwards. The elevator stopped. Forcing open the door, I slipped into the pressurization chamber. The entrance had closed automatically. I pressed on the intercom button repeatedly. Sora! Sora! Takeshi. Hey, it's been a while. I realized how much I had missed that voice. I waved to Sora as she appeared outside the window. Well, it's obvious, isn't it? I came back. Isn't it? What's the damage? Sora explained the situation diligently. That's pretty bad. What about your stock? Are you able to drain it okay? Well, don't worry about it. I'll be right back.
ダメです。
Sora's eyes flashed from the other side of the glass.
ランダーを減圧してきちんと入管手続きを取ってください。
Decompression? Are you telling me to just wait here?
はい、規則です。でなければ EBF に戻っていただきます。
How long will it take?
最速で行います。
I need to know how much time.
急いでも12時間。
12 hours. We don't have that long.
血液中に溶け込んだ窒素を排出しないと減圧症になってしまいます。
I don't care. Open that door now.
できません。
Just open it now, please.
なぜです。今ドアを開けたら急激な減圧に伴って血液中の窒素が気化し血栓を作り、最悪の場合
I don't care. You get that door open now. I found an emergency escape lever inside the chamber and I pulled on it. I kicked the door. There was a horrible noise as though all the air inside had exploded. My body was thrown from the room along with the high-pressure gas that had been built up inside. I was tossed like a piece of confetti, sliding and rolling along the floor all the way to the control room. My head had crashed heavily against the wall. Pain racked my body. Oh, it was because I had smacked into a wall. Although I kept spewing out my breath, I felt like air bubbling in open my lungs. Then came a terrible exhaustion. My body felt like it was expanding. My eyes felt swollen and painful. The muscles in my lips began to jerk and spasm. Numbness, pain, headache. I felt like I had no room to move. According to astronomers, humans can live for a short period of time, even if they are thrown out of a spaceship into space. But fish brought quickly up from the sea depths to sea level die instantly because the pressure differences caused their organs to burst. So was I an astronaut or...
倉成さん、変換器を。
I felt a splitting pain deep in both ears. Repelled by my eardrums, the voice converter flew out of my ears. I hurriedly held both ears with the palms of my hands and knocked them as though trying to drain water from them. I couldn't hear what Sora was screaming. All I could do was lie on the floor trying to suck in air, like a fish that had been pulled out of the water. A few minutes passed. The earphones that I had been wearing had broken in half. I got up weakly. I saw some extra voice converters on the edge of the console. I crammed them forcefully into my ears.
倉成さん。
Sora ran over to me with a painful expression on her face. She tried to wrap her arms around me. Even though she couldn't touch me, she was trying to help me up. Okay, I'm still alive. I stuck out my hand to the console, stood up and smiled at her. I could hear Sora's voice. It seemed that my eardrums hadn't burst.
どうして来たんですか。
She wiped away tears and her expression darkened.
すぐに EBF に戻ってください。ここは危険なんです。
And although she was crying, her face reddened with anger. I'm not going back. I came here knowing how dangerous it would be.
ダメ、戻って、お願い。本当に、なんてこと、信じられない。逃げて、お願い、戻ってください。浸水が、私が戻って、倉成さん頼みます。助けないと危険です。
Calm down, Sora. You're totally incoherent. I held up my hand as I spoke, hoping to calm her down. But I couldn't stop her anger. Her lips pursed, she glared at me slightly. Do you know why I'm here?
わかります。いえ、わかりません。たとえわかっていても、認めるわけにはいかないんです。
She seemed sad and angry at the same time.
私、矛盾してますか？
No, I think it's pretty much common sense. But in other words, I came up from IBF because LeMU is dangerous.
倉成さん自身、危険だってわかってるのに、どうして私の言うことを聞いてくれないんですか？下に戻ってくれないんですか？
I know I should listen to you, but I can't. I knew that LeMU was dangerous, so I couldn't just stay there at IBF. Where it is safe. I wonder if that's strange. You think
お
so?
かしいですよ。矛盾してます。だって倉成さんがこのままじゃ死んでしまうかもしれないじゃないですか。
Her shoulders started shaking and she started to cry. I keep telling you not to rush to conclusions, Sora. I came here to get you. I know a way to help you. Well, I'm not sure about it yet, but if I've got a little time, I can get you to IBF with me. As if it were responding to my words, the floor started to shake. As soon an alarm rang from the Himmel console. What was that sound? Sora, tell me what it was.
あの
Sora's gaze wandered and she spoke to me with a pained expression.
EBF へのリフトが今の振動で破損しました。
The elevator was destroyed.
リフトは使用不能になりました。
Holding back tears, she gazed down at her feet. You don't say. Trying to keep my calm, I responded to her. I was pretending to be cool, but I was actually in trouble. This is bad. I couldn't put on an act. If we couldn't go down to IBF, our escape route was really gone. Well, that throws a bit of a wrench in our plans, but hey, that's okay, right? I laughed sheepishly and scratched the tip of my nose. There really wasn't anything to do but to laugh.
よくありません。全然よくありません。
I sprang to the Himmel console, checking once more the damage shown there. The IBF elevator wasn't moving due to a break in the shaft. Thankfully, no one was in the elevator when the accident happened. It seemed that in an IBF case, we had escaped damage again. She let out a deep, deep sigh. Sora stopped crying. Suddenly tightening her expression, she stood at attention.
こうなってしまったからには
Okay. Gotta get out of here now. I hope we can do that. I hope we can successfully escape. Bye. Takeshi, you gotta be really careful.